say happy Socktober. It is October, it is Socktober, it is the best month of the year. And I am very happy about that. Now, you may have noticed that there was no video this most recent Saturday, and this is the reason why. This little ball of chaos is Finnegan. He is our sweet new baby boy. He is almost 12 weeks old. Oh my goodness, he's the cutest little thing. I love orange cats. And we had a very sweet orange cat named Nellie, who passed away in 2020. And since then, I have been missing having an orange cat. So Finnegan is my early birthday present, and he is here, and he's a lot. He is very sweet. He likes to snuggle, he purrs a lot, he likes to be held, but he is also a kitten, so he is all over the place. We also already have an older cat who is 18, and we have a dog that is 3, so we're trying to get everybody to get along, and it is a challenge, but here he is. He's the cutest thing you've ever seen, isn't he? Yes, of course he is. Look at that face. Look at that face. Oh, so you may hear some noises as I'm recording, and that will just be Finnegan hopping around, being cute. October has always been my favorite month. It is my birthday month. It is our wedding anniversary month. There is Halloween. It is when the weather, generally speaking, starts to turn and the leaves, and it's all beautiful here. So October and Socktober. I don't knit as many socks as I wish I did. I love wearing hand knit socks. They're wonderful, and I love buying sock yarn, but actually knitting socks, I get bored and I get distracted. So who knows if I will knit any socks during Socktober. I have recently purchased some sock yarn, so I think I showed this in the most recent podcast. This is from Knitterly Things, her Vesper sock yarn in her sunflower colorway, which is so very 70s. And then this one I just got from Nomadic Yarns, and this is her Evermore colorway. I keep wanting to say Nevermore. If you're familiar with Nomadic Yarns, you know that if you pay a little extra, she will do the gobstopper ball, but I decided to skip that this time, so I just wound it up on the cake, and it's not nearly as cool looking, but some really beautiful fall colors in here. Orange, brown, dark green, a little bit of pink. Love it. So chances are, if I knit any socks, since these are self-striping, they will just be kind of plain socks. But I thought it would be fun for Socktober to take a look at some sock patterns that I definitely would knit if I didn't get so distracted knitting socks and end up casting them aside after finishing maybe not even one. Now when I first started knitting socks, I loved not necessarily knitting socks, like the actual act of it, but having all these different socks and these cool patterns. Now, if I knit socks, they tend to be more plain, but that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of really cute patterns out there still. So today I am going to be sharing 8 sock patterns for you that I think are just adorable and would be lovely for fall. None of these are like super complicated, complex socks. These are all sort of low-key patterns. Not a lot of crazy stuff going on, but really cute socks. And then as a bonus, I will share my favorite of my sock patterns at the end that I have published. And maybe you will love it too. So without further ado, let's start talking about sock patterns. All right, I have my laptop here so I can give you all the details about these patterns, but I will be putting, photos up here so that you can see. So all of these patterns, they almost are all fingering weight. There is one that is, no, I guess 2 that are not, but mostly they are fingering weight, and there are some regular socks, there are some shorty socks, and there is one set of or pair of slippers. So let's start with something very appropriate for October. These are the Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nice Socks by Crystal T Knits. This pattern is available for $5.50. It only has 3 sizes, so that's probably going to fit probably most women, I would say. Not sure about men, and probably not kids. So if you're looking for something with a lot of size variation, this one is not the one for you, but this is really cute. And I really like this one because you've got just a little bit beyond the basic, but there's nothing super complicated here. So you have a nice cable detail on it, but this is a really basic cable that is Finnegan. That could certainly be done cabling without a cable needle, nothing super complicated here. And then there's just some textured stitches and contrast cuff, heel, and toe. So really cute, probably super easy to memorize, so you're not, you don't have to constantly have the pattern there, which is one of the reasons I don't really knit more complicated socks anymore, is I really just kind of gravitate for things that I can easily memorize for the most part, for any project, but socks included. So the sample here is knit in Lizzie Ann Yarns Lizzie sock, which is a 75 merino, 25 nylon, and it is on the thinner side, so it's 100 grams, 465 yards, so that is on the lighter side for a sock yarn. But socks are very adaptable, so you can pretty much use any sock yarn as long as you're adjusting your needle size and checking your gauge to make sure that your socks are going to fit. And a reminder that you do want your socks to have negative ease, which is a little harder when a pattern only has 3 sizes. And to be honest, it just says that the sizes are small, medium, large. It doesn't say what they are. Chances are it's, probably 7, 8, 9 inch sock circumference or something like that, but I don't know. And these are knit cuff down, which is not my personal favorite sock construction, but especially because the pattern is pretty straightforward, you could easily adjust this to work in the opposite direction. And just, work your favorite toe up heel in here with or without a contrast color, really up to you. So that is the first one. Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nights, again from Crystal T Knits. Download it from Ravelry for $5.50. All right, next up I'm going to share a pair of shorty socks from one of my favorite knitters out there. This is a pattern by Sarah Jordan. I have knit a bunch of her patterns. I have met her a few times, and she is a lovely and the nicest person you will ever meet. And she has quite a few really cute sock patterns. And I have knit her pierogi slipper socks, which I knit for my dad, and eventually might knit for myself again. I have knit her non-Euclidean socks a couple times now. And these are called the Runaway Shorties. These are so cute. I love this little heel kind of flap at the back. I think that is darling. It looks like it is that folded over? Let's find out. It is a double. So it's a double cuff and tab, so that you're really getting some cushioning there if you were to wear these with your running shoes. I can't imagine a situation where I would be running. So that part kind of irrelevant for me, but they are still absolutely adorable for any kind of wear, whether you're a runner or not. So let's see what we can tell you about these socks. They are using fingering weight yarn. The yarn in the sample is Fiber Dye Works Bounce, which is an 80/20 merino nylon, 400 yards for 100 grams. So that's a pretty standard fingering weight yarn. The pattern includes 5 sizes, and it does tell you the sizes, which is helpful. So they're designed to fit foot circumferences from 6.5 to 10.5 inches. So these are knit from the cuffed down, and a lot of short row shaping, it looks like, is used here, probably to create that tab at the back. The heel does not look like a short row heel, but I can't say for certain. So these are shorty socks, so you're probably going to not even need a full skein of sock yarn for these, although you will perhaps need more than a standard pair of shorty socks because of that double cuff and the tab at the back. So this is available to download on Ravelry for $6. The recommended needle size is a US 0. I don't think I've ever used a US 0 in my life. But again, you're just going to adjust your size to make sure you are getting the gauge, which is 36 stitches over 4 inches or 9 stitches to the inch. So I know I would probably use a 1.5 for that, but you will just have to work that part out on your own. She does give you a nice list of techniques that you're going to want to know, including obviously knitting and purling, working flat and in the round, picking up stitches, and again, short rows and grafting your live stitches for your toe. So a really cute pair of shorty socks, whether you are a runner or not. Again, that's the Runaway Shorties by Sarah Jordan. All right, moving on. Now we're going to talk about, for no real reason, 2 sock patterns that happen to have the word bear in the name. Just total coincidence. The first one are the Bear Mountain socks. This is a pattern by Megan Nodecker of Pip and Pin. So what is really drawing me to these is this sort of slightly different cable pattern. It's not a standard cable, it's a slip stitch cable, and it is just a little bit more heart-shaped than a traditional cable of this kind. And it is kind of an all-over pattern, so that's going to be really easy to memorize. They are knit from the cut down, but again, since you've got kind of a straightforward heel and toe here, you could easily maybe adjust these if you prefer toe up like I do. So the pattern includes only 3 sizes. That is not really a surprise with kind of the cables. Trying to fit cable repeats into a certain number of stitches can be tricky. So not a big surprise there, but again, not a lot of size variety here. So it's an adult, small, medium, and large, 7, 8, 9 inch finished foot circumference. The yarn called for is Wild Sock by Red Fox Fibers, which is a 75 merino, 25 nylon, and it's 463 yards. So again, that is on the thin side for fingering weight yarn. You may want to keep that in mind if you're interested in the pattern, and it does recommend a size 0 needle for using a yarn that thin. Again, you might want to use a more traditional fingering weight yarn that's around 400 yards, maybe a slightly larger needle, and adjust your size selection as needed to get what you are looking for. Gauge on this is about 7 stitches to the inch, which is larger than normal for a sock, but not for all of the all-over cable pattern. So this pattern is available to purchase on Ravelry for $6.50. I do not know. A lot of designers now have, I'm just adding this to my queue, by the way. A lot of designers are offering their patterns on multiple sites now. I don't know off the top of my head whether Megan is or not. But you can get it on Ravelry. Okay, it looks like she does sell her patterns directly on her website, which is pipandpin.ca. So if you're not able to use Ravelry, you can hop over there and check that out. So again, those are the Bear Mountain socks by Megan Nodecker of Pip and Pin. And now the next one, this is the only pair of DK weight socks, and these are the Bearpaw Socks. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. If you don't know who Andrea Mowry is, I really can't help you. And of course, because it is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, it has over 1,400 finished projects. So if you are looking for ideas about yarn and people's experiences, you should have lots of information there for you. So you can see these are basically just kind of a ribbed sock. They do have a unique heel with a little bit of a possible contrast color being used around the heel and the toe and the cuff. And the pair that I showed you guys here, it is knit with 2 strands of fingering weight yarn held together, so you're getting that marled effect. The reason it's called Bearpaw is that she is using Farmer's Daughter Fibers Bearpaw Sock, and that is where presumably the name came from. So you're either going to use 2 strands of fingering weight held together, or you're going to use a DK weight yarn, and of course you're going to use a larger needle size. The recommended size is a US 4. Now this pattern has 11 sizes, so you can probably make these for everybody in your family. So it goes from a 4.5 inch finished foot circumference to a 9.5 inch finished foot circumference. It says it has 11 sizes, but several of the finished foot circumferences are the same. I don't know what the deal is with that. I've not bought this pattern, so I'm trying to figure out what the deal is with that. I cannot help you, but it does say 11 sizes. And so she also includes a list of techniques you're going to be using: knit, purl, holding 2 strands together. It uses a Flegel heel. I've never done one of those before, so I'm not sure what the details are with that. And a Turkish cast on, which means that these are knit from the toe up, and that is my preference, so goody for me. I think these are really cute. I really like some of those sort of, again, it's basically a ribbed sock, but with some contrast and some unique details. I love that it is sized for the whole family. It says it's actually like a DK weight version of her DRK everyday socks. I don't know, I have not knit those. So presumably what caught my eye was the marling first, and then just the other details are wonderful with it being knit from the toe up and sized for your whole family. So the yarn used for this, again, is Farmer's Daughter, I can never say that name right. Farmer's Daughter Fibers. I always want to say Farmer's Daughter's Fiber. Anyway, Bearpaw Sock, which is a 70 merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon, 437 yards for 100 grams. So that's sort of a medium fingering weight. It's not as heavy as some, it's not as light as others. And again, you're going to be holding it double. So any fingering weight yarn you use, you need to have enough to be holding it double throughout. And it says that you will need, let's see, for the adult sizes, which start here at about 7, you will need about 135 grams of the fingering weight yarn. So that's going to take you over 1 skein. And she also provides, if you're just going to knit with a regular DK weight yarn without doing that double stranding, she gives you the yardages for that as well. So I think I might have to add these to my queue as well. DK weight socks, obviously you're not really going to be able to wear them with shoes or anything, but great for around the house in the winter. And working on a US 4 needle, that means you're going to get your socks done faster, which is clearly something I need. So again, these are the Bearpaw Socks by Andrea Mowry. We're about halfway done. I think we'll spice things up a little bit by throwing a slipper pattern in here. So the rest of these have all really been socks, even though some of them are short, but these are actual slippers. So these are the Hestia slippers by Nika John. You can find this pattern in 52 Weeks of Socks. I don't know who's the publisher for that. I should probably find out. 52 Weeks of Socks is published by Lina Publishing, so the people who do Lina Magazine. 52 Weeks of Socks, if you want to buy the digital version, is $40 for that. Presumably has 52 sock patterns, so that is still a fantastic deal. And it looks like, yes, you can buy just the individual sock pattern. It is a little on the more expensive side, but I am all in favor of paying designers their worth, and they know how to price their own stuff, so let's trust them. So these are not only slippers, but they are sport weight. They are not fingering weight. Now the pattern, it looks like it only includes 2 sizes, and the finished circumference is, it doesn't give you a finished circumference, it gives you a width of the slipper, which is 4 inches, and a length. The nice thing about slippers is that they don't have to have such a precise fit. So you have a lot more wiggle room with choosing a size that is going to work for you. Another option sometimes for something like this is to change your gauge a little bit from the pattern. You can't like make a dramatic change if you're using the same yarn, but you can make them, you know, a little bit tighter, a little bit looser, and just give yourself a little bit more wiggle room in changing the circumference that way. So the yarn used is Ulisse, which is Durham Natura, and I absolutely love it. Patterning on this sock and also sort of the squishiness of it comes from using tuck stitches and brioche, which is going to give you an extra thick, squishy fabric, but is not as labor intensive as maybe a color work where you've got to be paying attention to a chart and following that. So it says, the panel that wraps around the foot is knit flat with a tuck stitch pattern and a brioche edge. The panel is folded over itself and stitches are picked up along the bottom edge, which is binding the fold together in the round, so you don't have to sew it. Then on the bottom, you're going to hold your yarn double and work in a garter stitch, which is going to make it extra super squishy and cozy and thick, so it's not going to wear through as easily. The garter sole is sprinkled with stitches of wool roving to create an extra soft and insulating layer between your feet and the floor. Could you skip that? Probably. But it's definitely going to make super, super cozy, snuggly slippers for the winter. So that is the only slipper pattern that I have in here, but I think it is absolutely adorable. Not a whole lot of sizes available, but again, slipper sizing does not have to be so precise. So you can find this on Ravelry for €9.99 or $10.96 in US. Or again, you can buy the 52 Weeks of Socks from Lina Publishing and find that in there. Again, these are the Hestia slippers by Mika John. All right, this next one has been on in my queue forever. I swear I'm actually going to get around to it this time. And these are the Hibernation house socks. This is a pattern by Lindsay Fowler. And these are worked with a fingering weight held with a floofy lace weight. Finnegan is curled up in a bag of yarn. This kitten, I'm telling you. If he's still sleeping there when I'm done, I'll take the phone off the stand and show you. So again, fingering weight yarn held with a silk mohair or a Surrey alpaca silk to give a little bit of fluff. The pattern includes 5 sizes, so to fit a foot circumference from 6 up to 10 inches. The yarn she uses is from Woolberry Fiber Company, and it is a merino cashmere nylon at 400 yards, which is, again, on the more traditional, heavier side for a fingering weight yarn. And it calls for a US 1 needle. And of course the Surrey, mohair, lace, those are, you know, basically they're all the same. That's not true. They're not all the same, obviously. The colors are different, and to be honest, some companies have nicer blends than others, but they all tend to be about the same weight. Not a lot of variation in that, in weight and yardage for that. So these are knit from the cuff down. You can see it features some texture stitches and this contrast cuff that is knit with that extra silk mohair, giving it a little bit of fluff. I just think these are adorable, cozy for at home. Probably you're not going to wear these out and about, but great for a sort of pseudo slipper to wear around the house. And when you buy this pattern, it says you get a bonus copy of the Hearth and Home socks free. I don't know anything about that sock pattern, but 2 for the price of 1 always sounds good. Again, Hibernation house socks by Lindsay Fowler. Let's do one more shorty sock pattern. And these are the sporty shorty socks, which is just fun to say. This is a pattern by Kristen Clement. And these are just adorable. Again, there's not a lot going on here. It's some ribbing, it's some texture, it's some stockinette. It's got a kind of unique looking heel, which I like, but there is nothing super busy going on with the general pattern of the sock. So you can find this on Ravelry. It's just $5. And it looks like the pattern includes 4 sizes. So we've got kids and then adult, small, medium, large, and extra large. The sock yarn called for here is Notice Sock by Queen City Yarn, and that is a light fingering, so 463 yards for 100 grams, keeping that in mind when you are picking out yarn for this project. And of course, these are shorty socks, so you definitely do not need an entire skein, at least maybe for the adult extra large, but probably not. I can't imagine. All right, so these are knit from the cuff down with a tubular cast on, which is a little fiddly, but always looks really nice. You could probably substitute in it looks like a 1x1 rib. So an alternating cable cast on is a really nice alternative to give you the look of the tubular cast on without quite so much of the fuss. The cuff has some German short rows to raise it up just a little bit in the back so you don't get that thing where the cuff starts slipping below the back of your shoe. Heel flap and a double gusset. Some athletic sock style shaping with some simple ribbing and a classic wedge toe. So these are absolutely adorable, really cute for a sort of relatively straightforward shorty sock. Just got a few interesting things going on there to hold your interest while you are knitting. So again, sporty shorty socks by Kristen Clement. And our last pattern is from Summerlee Knits. If you are not familiar with Summerlee, she is got socks all over the place, sock patterns everywhere, and she uses lots of like bright colors and she has a very specific aesthetic. You can find her on Instagram and check out some of that. These are the Cider House socks. And this pattern is available on Ravelry for $6. These are just, again, sort of a basic, a simple, probably 2/2 cable combined with some ribbing and some contrast heels and toes and cuffs, but just, I'm sorry, not heels, toes and cuffs, but just a really nice, easy to memorize, straightforward pattern. You could probably make these as long as you want. Let's see, are these knit from the toe up or the cuff down? No, they're cuffed down, so that makes it a little harder to make them as long as you want. But with that cable column or rib combination, they're gonna, kind of squeeze in tightly to your foot, to your leg, which is gonna make it, sometimes if you knit really long socks, they tend to start falling down. But because you've got that ribbing in there, they're really gonna hold up pretty well. Worked from the cuff down, easy to memorize cable pattern, and available in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sizes. So from a 6-inch to a 10-inch foot circumference. The yarn that she used for her sample is Pearl Soho Quartz. She does have a tweedy sample that she used Knit Pick Stroll Tweed. I think that the tweed really kind of kicks it up, kicks the interest up just a teeny bit because it's a relatively basic pattern. It looks nice in a solid color, but with a little bit of tweed mixed in there, it just looks, I don't know, very preppy, very 80s preppy. I kind of love that. So these are knit with, again, contrast cuffs and toes. You wouldn't have to do that, but I really think it gives it a nice look, especially the sort of stripe contrast on the cuffs. The Quartz by Pearl Soho. Ooh, it's a merino Surrey. That sounds very soft, but I don't know about alpaca in socks. It's just not very sturdy. So something to think about. But that is 420 yards for 100 grams, so pretty much a standard fingering. And then the Stroll Tweed by Knit Picks, that is a little on the thinner side because that's, let's see, 460 yards for 100 grams, although it's sold in 50-gram balls. So that is a little on the thinner side. And I'm excited to tell you that at this very minute, you can save 30% on the pattern with the code HELLOFALL. I don't know how long that's going to last. Hopefully it's still there by the time you see this video. Probably an easy to memorize pattern, relatively straightforward. And I said 5 sizes, so maybe not the whole family, but quite a bit of your family if you're looking for a pattern that's going to be good for gifts, especially with that ribbing. That's going to make it a little easier to not have quite as precise a fit because it's going to squeeze inward no matter what. So again, these are the Cider House socks. Pattern is available for $6 on Ravelry, but currently you can get 30% off if you hop over there right away. And again, this one is by Summer Lee. And last but not least, I wanted to tell you about my favorite sock pattern that I have published in case you are interested in checking that out. I will say this is not my top selling sock pattern. My top selling sock pattern are the Calentito shorty socks, which I agree are lovely. But for a sock, my favorite pattern are my X9 socks. I have sized these socks for the whole family. So you go from toddler all the way up to a men's extra large, 5.5-inch foot circumference to a 10.5 inch. And these socks are just decorated with a relatively simple textured stitch pattern that uses some slipped stitches. I will tell you, I get a lot of questions about this. Because of the slipped stitches, the socks, as you're knitting them, tend to kind of curl a little bit. So it looks like, because the back of the sock is stockinette and the front of the sock has this textured slip stitch pattern, it looks like the back of the sock is growing faster than the top and front of the sock. And so they kind of curl a little bit. But once you finish them and block them, you can stretch that out so that they are even. It is just because you were slipping those stitches that you are getting that. But you are slipping the stitches over a garter stitch. So the garter stitch is stretchier lengthwise than the stockinette, and it all blocks out in the end. So this pattern is worked, you'd think I would remember, but I don't, is worked cuff down, even though that's not my preference, that is in general, I think, people's preference. So it is worked from the cuff down. Your gauge is 8 stitches to the inch. I'm recommending a US 1.5, but obviously your mileage may vary for that. Techniques you need to know here are, other than sort of basic sock knitting techniques, are knitting stitches through the back loop and working right twists and left twists. And I have tutorials for that on my YouTube channel on the off chance that you need it. And of course it is also explained in the pattern itself. So the yarn I used for this was Swift Yarn's Bliss Sock, which is a pretty standard merino cashmere nylon, 400 yards. You probably don't want to use a super light fingering for this unless you want to go down a needle size and do that whole adjustment bit. So the pattern is available for $7. It is available on Ravelry. It is also available through my PayHip shop. And link, of course, to the pattern and all the patterns that I talked about, you're going to find in the description box down below. So if you are looking for a cute all-family pattern, I really like my X9 socks. They've got 22 projects on Ravelry, so you can see them knit in different speckles, stealth striping, solid color yarns, and I've got them modeled on my kids, so you can see them in different sizes as well. So again, that is the X9 socks from yours truly. Thank you again so much for joining me today. I hope you found a sock pattern or two that you are interested in for Socktober. I really want to cast on this one, but I can't find, all my sock needles are in things and I need to do something about that. But hopefully you are more prepared than I am and are ready to knit some socks this month. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel where I've got lots of great knitting content, knitting podcasts, vlogs, tutorials, and all of that great stuff. I am going to show you guys Finn, if I can sneak up on him in his bag full of yarn that he is in. But in the meantime, thank you again so much for joining me, and I will see you soon in another video. Hello. What are you doing in there? What are you doing in my bag of yarn? Oh, you think you're so cute, don't you?